the Whispering Shadows of Solitude. In the heart of an isolated countryside, nestled far away from the comforting hum of the city, lived Emily. Her quaint house, surrounded by dense woods, stood silent against the backdrop of the night. The moon cast an eerie glow, and the only sounds that pierced the stillness were the rustling leaves and the occasional hooting of an owl. As Emily settled into the coziness of her home, an unsettling chill crept through the air. Her husband, Mark, had left for a work trip, leaving her alone in their isolated haven. The remoteness that brought them peace during the day now echoed with a haunting emptiness at night. In the dead of night, Emily awoke to a strange noise that cut through the silence like a sharp blade. It was a low, guttural growl that seemed to resonate from the very walls of her home. She dismissed it initially, attributing it to the mysterious sounds of the countryside, but the gnawing feeling in her gut persisted. Unable to ignore the disquieting ambience, Emily mustered the courage to investigate. She cautiously stepped out of her bedroom, tiptoeing down the creaky wooden stairs. The air felt heavier with every step, and the unsettling growls seemed to grow louder, resonating through the halls. As she ventured into the dimly lit living room, the source of the noise eluded her. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, making her jump. Emily convinced herself that it was just the wind playing tricks on her, but a flicker of doubt lingered in her mind. With trembling hands, she dialed the police, her voice shaky as she tried to convey the unexplainable fear gripping her. The dispatcher assured her that an officer would be dispatched to her location, but the nearest station was a considerable distance away. As the call ended, Emily's solitude intensified, the isolation weighing on her like a heavy shroud. Desperation set in, prompting her to call Mark. The phone rang, and her heart raced with each unanswered ring. She left a frantic voicemail, pleading for him to return her call as soon as possible. The minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity, and the mysterious growls persisted, now accompanied by an occasional unsettling whisper that seemed to seep through the walls. Emily clutched her phone tightly, pacing nervously through the house. The growls took on a sinister cadence, as if something malevolent lurked just beyond her perception. In the flickering candlelight, shadows danced ominously, and the walls seemed to close in on her. As she waited for help, Emily's mind conjured terrifying scenarios. What if the source of the growls was not of this world? What if some unseen entity lurked in the shadows, watching her every move? The isolation that once felt serene now felt like a trap, amplifying her vulnerability. The police, seemingly delayed by the vastness of the countryside, offered reassurances that they were on their way. The growls, however, intensified, now accompanied by a rhythmic tapping that echoed through the house. Emily's imagination ran wild as she envisioned grotesque figures lurking just outside her field of vision. Suddenly, the tapping ceased, replaced by an unsettling silence. Emily strained her ears, her senses heightened by fear, just as she dared to hope that the nightmare might be over. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the house, a sound that seemed to emanate from the very core of her being. Panicked, Emily rushed to lock every door and window, her trembling hands struggling with the latches. The shadows in the corners seemed to writhe with a life of their own, and the growls, now accompanied by ghastly whispers, closed in on her from all sides. As the minutes ticked by like hours, the distant wail of sirens cut through the oppressive silence. Relief washed over Emily as the police arrived, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The growls and whispers retreated into the shadows, leaving an unsettling quiet in their wake. The officers, finding no immediate threat, reassured Emily that they would investigate the area thoroughly. As they combed through the woods surrounding her home, Emily clung to the hope that the nightmare would finally come to an end. Days later, with no explanation for the harrowing events, Emily and Mark decided to leave their once-beloved home. The isolation that once provided solace now harbored an unspeakable dread. The scars of that night lingered, a chilling reminder of the inexplicable horrors that can unfold in the darkest corners of the seemingly tranquil countryside.